The rapid pace of technological change can make it difficult for the primary ICT curriculum to keep up. This programme looks at how two teachers are delivering different areas of the curriculum to their pupils. Sarah Webber is teaching website design, a recent addition to the curriculum, to her Year 6 pupils. In contrast, Year 4 teacher Becky Sherratt is updating her teaching of programming and control with the help of some hands-on robotic cars. Throughout the programme, primary ICT consultant Lucinda Searle will be adding her suggestions as to how best to teach these topics. At 2 Mile Hill Juniors in Bristol, Sarah Webber has begun building websites with her Year 6 pupils.
Right, good morning everyone.
This morning's history lesson is going to provide further content for the websites that they'll continue working on in the afternoon.
You researched about Victorian schools, and now you're going to find out what life was like for children who couldn't afford to go to school. So I'm going to show you a clip.
Certain skills that children have to learn, for instance in this case, making a multimedia presentation for different audiences, it wouldn't be taught in isolation. You wouldn't just make a web page and this is a hyperlink. You'd need a purpose and a reason for doing it, which is why ICT is often taught through a subject, in this case history.
When you come across an interesting fact that you might like to use in your web page this afternoon, on your PDA I would like you to record it as a sound clip, and then I'd like you to submit it to me.
Coal was the main source of power in Victorian times. It was used for cooking and heating, and for driving trains and steamships.
Coal was the main source of power in Victorian times. It was used for cooking and heating, and for...
I've found out quite a lot of things from on the board, and I've put it all together in a file, and then this afternoon we should be putting it into our web pages that we've started.
The pupils wirelessly send their audio recordings to Sarah's computer, both so that she has them for their websites, but also so they can share their findings.
And we'll start with Cece.
William Blake, the chimney sweep. My father sold me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in soot I sleep.
Why would sound be better for your audience who are going to be looking at your web page?
Because they don't just have to sit there and read it all, they can listen to some as well.
Excellent, thank you, Katie. So this afternoon, me and Miss Hooper will show you how to do that and show you a web page with sound on it.
Sarah is going to be team teaching with ICT coordinator Laura Hooper. Before the afternoon lesson, Laura runs through with Sarah how to upload audio files using their web design software.
I want to know how, on a page like this, they could incorporate that sound and have a link to it, so that if a younger audience was looking at it, that they would be able to click and hear them speaking.
Okay, but it's actually really simple. You just right click and go to actions, and there's a sound tab in there. You can actually just browse for their own sound. Something else that's really important is actually labelling underneath the picture what the sound is going to be, so you're knowing what you're going to hear. Really a good way to start is to show them some web pages and how they're set up, and also like we've done, do an example one of a teacher one really, and keep updating that as you go along so that they can see what you want by the end of the unit really.
Yeah, and I suppose again
it's about putting together text and audio and sound and the multimedia presentation, but also thinking about audience and who that's going to be for. And so for a level 4, for instance, in this case, you'd be aware of the audience and aware that your presentation needs to be clear and look good and relay what you want it to say.
To kickstart their web design lesson, Laura uses her own website to get the pupils thinking about the information that they are presenting to their audience.
So I'm going to show you a schools page that I've completed, and I want you to think about what is it about my page that maybe is better than what we did last week, and how you're going to edit yours to look a bit like mine.
Most of us have only shown one thing, like the classroom, but you've shown things like the way that the children would have looked and things like that.
We've done a video of our trip to Sevington, and we haven't done that.
Brilliant. If you work really hard, we might have time to show some people that. Off you go then. Have you thought about what title you might like to do? Would you like to do it in a shape, or would you like to do it in a text box like before? Okay, so can you remember which one that is that you got to click? Well done. And what's your title going to be called?
Working children.
Working Children. So if you type that in.
Some of the pupils have added the audio that they recorded in the morning.
A sound is like telling you a bit about what happened in Victorian times to the kids. We put the sound on there, and then we got to press play, and then click on that picture to get the sound playing.
Children who have no parents are often taken into factories to live and work.
If someone was using your webpage, how would they know that they're going to find out about sound there?
Do a text box and then put where to click.
Where to click? What else could you say apart from where to click, Lauren?
Find out about children.
Yeah, to find out about working children. Excellent. So you confident about putting... Before doing this, I had to really familiarise myself with the programmes. It's something I hadn't used before. And the way I always do that with ICT is actually doing what they'll be doing myself and working through the programme. With this programme, the actual IT skills they picked up surprisingly quickly, and I think some of the things they found more difficult are thinking about the layout, thinking about an audience and how they will prepare the page for that. Right, you've got to create your own style in the way you do your titles, where you put the pictures, the kind of font that you use. So that if I was to look at one, I'd say, oh, that's Shauna's webpage. Oh, that's Tom's style. Have a look at this page and how it looks like Miss Hooper's style of doing things.
So when I went on the school trip with my class, we recorded some video images of you at the trip on the flip cameras. So this is actually Tom, because he came with me on the trip, and he's actually just put this into his page as well. So I've just showed Tom how to do this.
Imagine if you were showing this to some Year 3 children that have never learnt about Victorians. If they can listen to you talking about it and watch a video of you at a real Victorian school, that will be almost like them going on the trip with you. So I think it's really important that you can incorporate all of that in your webpage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
They could take that presentation, then present it to perhaps some younger children, like the Year 3s in this school, for instance, and then a presentation for their parents and their adults, and then looking at how that might differ, what sort of things would those particular audiences want to see.
Not far away at Hillfields Primary, teacher Becky Sherratt is in the middle of a group of lessons on programming and control, an abstract topic that teachers often struggle with.
I think it leaves a lot of teachers cold, myself being one of those teachers actually, and it is one area that is not very well taught in very many primary schools.
To combat this, Becky has prepared a hands-on lesson in programming for her Year 4 pupils. As a warm-up, she gets them to think about control systems that they recognise in everyday life.
Can anyone tell me any things that are controlled by something that is programmed? Hannah?
Street lamps.
Street lamps, excellent. Chelsea, anything else?
TVs and computers.
Machines can't do things on their own. You have to tell it to do something. So whether that's the washing machine or the traffic lights, whatever, it's getting that idea that humans tell machines what to do, and that's the starting of programming and sequencing of instructions.
Becky has borrowed a set of programmable cars from her local city learning centre.
Great thing about these, controls are on the
ICT learning consultant Simon Squire advises teachers like Becky on how to use them.
here. On this one, you can actually now edit on screen.
Right.
So if I use these arrow keys here, move up and down, so I want to move forwards, let's say 10 centimetres. So if I press 10 on there, and you can see that it's appeared on there, move down and I turn 45 degrees, put that in, and I'm going to turn it around now. So we should now have that forwards 10, right turn 45. So you probably can't wait to get your hands on there.
The children are looking forward to it.
The cars place an abstract concept at the pupils' fingertips.
Just dropped a pen through the centre of the car. This will then make a track of the route. And so
the shapes produced by tracing the route of the car allows programming to be combined with maths topics like angles for cross-curricular learning.
And then the thing about these is when the kids see them for the first time, it's great, it's a toy. You know, they see it as a toy, but actually you're moving into programming. You want to start getting them into an understanding of why you're programming. what's going on in the wider world. So what's happening with ICT outside?
That always stumps them in a way because they're not sure, why do we control things? But then we move on to the conversations about traffic lights and things like that are programmed to do certain things.
Yeah.
So.
What you can do is take it from there, from this, which is the physical, to the more abstract, where they're going to go and control it on screen.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite difficult.
It's important that the pupils not only know how to program the cars, but understand what their commands represent.
When we press forward, we need to press a number after. What does that number represent? Megna?
Centimetres.
Good girl, centimetres, okay? Is everyone ready?
Then it's off to the hall, where Becky's used the space to prepare her driving school.
Around the hall, we've got some drawing options. I've also set up some mats with the roots on, and I've created some road scenes for you to steer our robot around. Okay, I'm going to come round. Mrs. Cox and I are going to see what you're doing, okay, but have fun and do some programming. Off you go.
Using the pen function, this group are adding an additional turn command to transform a repeated square into a larger pattern.
Forward 10, right 90, forward 10, right 90, forward 10, then right 25. If you don't put right 25, then only go over the same square. Part of it's going to be going over like that. Then it goes off.
There are more simple resources available to teachers when teaching the basics of programming.
We used to literally program each other, that you'd get the other child to walk forward 4 steps, turn a quarter of a turn, and you physically do those activities either in the hall or out in the playground or something. And that gets them actually doing it and seeing the pitfalls that can happen when you're telling something to do something and it doesn't do it properly, and making sure that those instructions are specific.
With some of the cars going off course, the pupils need to be able to identify mistakes in their commands and edit their sequences.
You have to clear the last one, go down and change the bottom one. That's a little 60, now we changed it.
These robots are quite good in the fact that it's something physical that they can look at rather than looking at a computer screen. The children find it quite hard to be in the arrow's position, whereas with a car, with something that physically moves, they can see the results of their instructions being inputted into the robot. It's something practical that they can do, and they like working collaboratively. They've worked together and created brilliant pieces of artwork using squares linked to numeracy, and the pathways along the floor have also linked to our geography work on directions and things like that. So they've picked up so many skills which all link back to the ICT skills progression list. Right, at the end of today's session, we have programmed these robots to do exactly what we want them to do. To take your learning further, next week we are going to be using the sensor to make the lights come on when it gets dark. You've worked really hard today.
This is something we've been working towards for years. ICT really embedded in the primary curriculum. There's a danger of, taking the children into an ICT suite, for instance, and working on a level 3 type activity, whereas ICT is a tool to be used across the curriculum. There's lots of different packages being developed that, to me, make ICT much more exciting and more fun.